Welcome everybody. If you heard that someone saves 50% of their income, what would you assume? You'd probably assume that they make a massive salary or that they live like a financial monk and never spend any money. But neither of these were true for me, and I have had a 50% savings rate. This has only been possible because over time I have built a handful of habits that have slowly pushed my savings rate higher and higher until eventually I was saving about half of what I earned. And these habits ended up putting me on a path towards early retirement. Habit number 1 is cooking at home. One of the fastest ways money disappears is eating out. In my early 20s, it was incredibly easy to spend money on food without ever even thinking about it. A quick lunch with coworkers, picking up dinner because cooking felt like a chore or I was too busy to make dinner, and each time it didn't seem like that big of a deal. But when I started to look at the numbers at the end of the month, I realized that those small meals were adding up to hundreds of dollars every single month. Once I started cooking most of my meals at home, my grocery bill went up slightly, but my total food spending dropped significantly. And after a while, cooking just became part of my routine, and now I actually enjoy cooking. Habit number 2 is house hacking. Housing is one of the biggest expenses for most people. So if you can reduce that one category, it has a massive impact on your finances. In my early 20s, I almost always had a roommate. And while living with roommates isn't always glamorous, the financial impact is huge. Instead of paying full rent myself, my housing cost was cut nearly in half. That difference freed up hundreds of dollars every single month that could go directly into saving and investing. Looking back on it, that decision probably accelerated my financial progress more than anything else that I had done. Habit number 3 is cutting reoccurring subscriptions. Subscriptions are very sneaky. A streaming service here, an app subscription there, no big deal. Individually, they feel so small, but stack enough of them together and suddenly you're spending hundreds of dollars every single month without really noticing it. One habit that really helped me keep this under control was doing a subscription audit twice a year. If I wasn't actively using it, I just canceled it. Simple rule. You can always resubscribe later. And over time, that habit has quietly saved me a lot of money. Habit number 4 was driving an older, reliable car. Cars are one of the fastest ways to destroy your savings rate. A new car payment today can easily run $600 or even $800 per month or more. Instead, I drove an old, reliable car. The best part about this car was it was paid off and it was relatively inexpensive to maintain. There were times when people around me were buying and upgrading cars every few years while I was still driving something 10 to 15 years old. And at the time, it really didn't feel like a sacrifice. I had a great car that could get me from point A to point B, which is all I need my car to do, and it didn't really feel like that big of a financial decision. But looking back, that choice probably freed up tens of thousands of dollars that ended up getting invested instead, and now is worth way more money than a car that depreciates in value. Habit number 5 is avoiding lifestyle inflation. This is one of the biggest financial traps that people fall into, and I have been victim of it, but I am fighting to try and keep it at bay. Lifestyle inflation is when you get a raise, you immediately increase your lifestyle. You get a nicer apartment, you go on more expensive vacations, you get a newer car, and before long, that raise just disappears. One habit that really helped my savings rate grow was keeping my lifestyle relatively stable, even as my income increased. Whenever my income went up, most of the increase went directly towards saving and investing. That's one of the biggest reasons my savings rate kept growing and climbing over time. So for example, if I got a 3% raise, I would take 2% of that and put it towards saving and investing, and the other 1% I could use to increase my lifestyle. None of these habits are extreme, but when you stack them together, you can completely change your financial trajectory. They slowly push your savings rate higher and higher until eventually you realize you're saving 30, 40, or even 50% of your income. And when that happens, you start thinking early retirement is possible. Your investments begin compounding, your financial stress starts to decrease, and over time, you realize your money is working harder than you are. Start implementing some of these habits today to help grow your financial future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.